The Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Rakakwadash, Barakatah. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raya with another video, and I'm going to be using an article from the dailybell.com titled, Teen Culture is the New Imperialism, and it is destroying the world. And in this article, teen culture is synonymous with Western culture. And when you think of Western culture, the first thing you think of is America, also known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, because America is the main culprit pushing these its wines or its philosophies onto the planet Earth, such as democracy, homosexuality, or feminism, which is turning this planet into a living nightmare. And they do a lot of that through their propaganda machine, Hollywood. It's very spiritual that they got a so-called white woman or Edomite woman as the main picture of this article, because this segues perfect into Revelation chapter 17 verse 1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore, which is America or Babylon the Great, that sitteth upon many waters. That's many waters being symbolic of the peoples of the earth, which America sits on because it's the chief kingdom ruling right now. Verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine or the philosophies of her fornication, the so-called teen culture which we're about to get into. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 horns and 10 heads. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And what do we see in this picture? A so-called white woman decked in a scarlet or purple-colored robes with gold rings and a necklace, as well as holding an iPhone in her hand, which can be symbolic of that cup full of fornication, because you can look at anything on the internet with your smartphone, and you can get bugged out by it if you're not working with the spirit of truth. Go back. Verse 5, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. You know how missionaries used to run around the globe forcing everyone to be a Christian, and in the process they destroyed native cultures and traditions? Well, the same thing is happening today with Western teen culture. It is being exported around the world with disastrous effects. And everybody knows how beneficial Christianity has been to humanity. And by Christianity, I mean that white supremacy plantation Christianity. It's killed more people on the face of the earth than any other philosophy. And that plantation Christianity wasn't used as a religion to benefit people. It was used as a means of control to give these Edomites, or so-called white people, a cloak of their maliciousness to go around the planet Earth and rape, rob, and murder the indigenous peoples. And we can see the fruits of this white supremacy Christianity. Just look at you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You're completely bugged out and have a slave mindset towards your masters right now, which are these Edomites. Manufacturing adolescence. And I'm going to be skipping around in this article because it's kind of long, just to get to the main points. Pre-industrial societies mostly exhibit a continuum from childhood to adulthood, and that's how it was in ancient Israel. A male was considered a man at the age of 12, and he wasn't just being a kid up until then. He was learning how to cultivate land, use farm animals, how to run a business, how to be a carpenter and such. And once he hit 12, he would have uncles as well as his father who would give him land and animals to set him up and start him off right. It's just recently that you've got this arrested development from the age of 1 to 18 childhood that America pushes, and then you just go to college to learn nothing, just to learn how to be a more obedient slave. There's generally no random cutoff age where suddenly teens are given rights and expected to become adults. Children seamlessly and gradually integrate into adulthood, with puberty rights being the only major benchmark. I'm going to skip down to here. What do kids see in the USA? A bunch of other kids with whom they have been grouped by government and industry working in tandem. Instead of emulating adults, they act like their peers. They want to dress the same, impress others with their technology, and keep up with the same TV shows, being in a state of arrested development. This creates an artificial subculture based on age, and it creates a new market. As of 2011, teens spend over $200 billion per year. Disney and all of its many subsidiaries bring in about $45 billion a year. It is not surprising that these industries now spend several $billions each year advertising to teenagers, and the most effective form of advertising is to create a subculture through which to sell products. And the most effective form of advertising is to create a subculture through which to sell products. And that's one part of the Edomite control system, but the main part is to turn the majority of the peoples on this planet into obedient slaves with a childlike mentality, to where they look at the state as the father, the daddy figure who's going to help them from cradle to grave. And with these people so dependent on this beast system, once everything gets shut off and we go into a state of martial law, which is going to be that time of Jacob's trouble, these people are going to be running around with cut off because they're in that childlike mentality looking for daddy to take care of them. So it won't be hard to think that a lot of these people are going to accept that microchip, which is the mark of the beast. You can trace the roots of this phenomena way back to the Industrial Revolution when social structures got a big shakeup. Kids worked less alongside adults in family work and apprenticeships. Instead, they were shipped off to compulsory public schools, propaganda centers. They were grouped by age and sex and educated to be factory workers, good, obedient slaves. By contrasting Western adolescence with people of the same age in societies that are just recently modernizing, we see that teen turmoil is not a natural phenomena or an issue of hormones. It has been created by Western culture and is now infecting industrialized societies. That wine that these peoples of the earth are getting drunk off of. Imperializing teen culture. According to Robert Epstein in his book, Teen 2.0, Saving Our Children and Families from the Torment of Adolescence, exporting this Western or Babylonian teen culture is undermining the social structures of developing nations. A similar story has played out for Kenyans, Moroccans, Australian Aborigines, Canadian Inuits, and many other pre-industrial societies recently integrated into Western culture. Their ways of life led to few social problems like unwed pregnancy, the breakdown of the family, drug use, depression, violence, and general teenage angst and rebellious, destructive behavior. But that changed upon the introduction of Western television through Hollywood, schooling, and teen culture. And this brings me to my next precept in Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup full of abominations in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken off of her philosophies such as democracy, feminism, homosexuality, what have you. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. This can have a double meaning. On the one hand, they're mad because they're seeing how this Western Babylonian culture is ruining their societies, but on the other hand, it's making them mad because they're getting bugged out by all these different philosophies, such as democracy, homosexuality, or feminism. And as we read, what has it led to with being introduced into these other cultures? Unwed pregnancy, the breakdown of the family, drug use, depression, violence, and general teenage angst and rebellious destructive behavior. But that changed upon the introduction of Western television, schooling, and teen culture. What is it that the pre-industrial teens are seeing on those television programs? The answer, teens being treated like and behaving like irresponsible children. And I'm going to skip down to this and go to my next precept in 2 Timothy chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And we're in the last seconds of these last days right now. We're at the door of all hell breaking loose. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, narcissistic children, trying to impress their peers, covetous. Oh, I gotta have the latest smartphone or pair of shoes. Boasters. Oh, I'm on Instagram. Look at how good I'm living. Proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, having that teen angst spirit that I know better than my elders. Unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of the Most High. And that's mainly what this American Babylonian system has pushed upon this earth. Just these selfish brute beasts that are going to eat each other alive when this system breaks down. These scriptures are truly beautiful, brothers. They have an answer to everything and tell us what's been, what's happening right now, and what's going to be. The pros and cons of Western culture. And there's only cons to Western culture. There's no pros. The only pros are when Western culture is going to be wiped off the earth after nuclear missiles take a lot of it out. This is not a slack. I'm going to skip down to right here. Exporting Hollywood around the globe is another major problem. Teens are indoctrinated with the creepy Hollywood executives' ideas of what it means to be a teen. Those the wines that these people are being made mad off of. They're sold sex, drugs, and irresponsibility as fun on the silver screen. And of course, there are plenty of real-world products that they can buy to fast-track their emulation of the TV stars. And this brings me to my next precept in Nahum chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 4. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, that whore that rides upon the beast in Revelation 17, the mistress of witchcrafts, which Hollywood is just witchcraft. It pushes these philosophies very subtly onto these peoples of the earth, influencing their minds and turning them into selfish brute beasts that selleth the nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. Teen culture. Oh man, it's cool to have all kinds of sex at young age, be a single mother, and do drugs and drink alcohol and just be a rock and roller. Verse 5, Behold, I am against thee, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame, which is what the men of the Lord, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, are doing right now. We're doing these internet epistles exposing Esau's fuckery, lifting up his skirt and showing how he's influencing the nations through his wicked philosophies or his wines. And finally, like it or not, families are a historically effective regulator of social behaviors, which is why Esau has been pushing for women to have that I don't need a man attitude to get the man out of the house, because a man is a structure in the household and is that stern disciplinarian who keeps the kids going on the straight path. But when you have these emotional women ruling the house, you see the fruits of their labors. We've got these emotionally minded men who are out here getting mad at every little slight offense against them, or just becoming straight up homosexuals or transgenders. A weak society. Let me see what else. And they say it pretty much right here. Many American teens, perhaps half or more, also grow up with little access to their father. And for those lucky enough to have a father, the average teenager now spends less than half an hour a week alone with his or her father. Half of this time is spent watching television, though mainly through the internet now. A situation that does not life to each and every village on earth. The nations have become drunken, become mad off of the wines of the fornications of that great whore. Through our films, television programs, laws, religious beliefs, and schooling and marriage practices, we're exporting a wide range of mechanisms that extend childhood well past puberty and that isolate teens from adults. Men shall be lovers in themselves, proud, blasphemers, and boastful. We're creating prolonged, turbulent, Western-style adolescence with all its inherent problems. We're creating generation gaps and family conflicts where none existed before. And because we ourselves have no idea how to deal with our problems, we're offering no solutions to the cultures we're corrupting. So as you brothers can see, this Western culture, chiefly through America or Babylon the Great, has to go because all it does is produce monsters. And this brings me to my next precept in Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And these people are mourning all around the planet Earth. Just in America alone, the majority of people are on medications such as antidepressants because they can't deal with this society. And you've got broken families as well as messed up relationships between men and women to where they look at each other as a competitor and an enemy. And it just keep going back to it in this article, but what did it say? Where is it? Their ways of life led to few social problems like unwed pregnancy, the breakdown of the family, drug use, depression, violence, and general teenage angst, and rebellious destructive behavior. But that changed upon the introduction of Western television, schooling, and teen culture. When the wicked beareth rule, the people mourneth. And now I'm going to close it off with Psalms chapter 12, verse 8. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted, and the vilest man, the basest man on the planet Earth is being exalted right now, which is the Edomites, or the so-called white people. So you've got the wicked walking on every side, but that's about to come to an end very shortly because we are in the last seconds of these last days, and all hell's about to break loose, which is what you sincere brothers should be praying for, because as we go through these times of Jacob's trouble, we just know that our salvation is that much nearer than we expected, and that this final captivity is about to end, and that our eternal rulership of righteousness run through the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible is about to begin. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified.